Hello, I'm Jenny Thielen, and I decided to make a screencast-o-matic so I could explain my decision on the rallying cry. When I was thinking about the rallying cry, this was kind of hard for me to decide what was the biggest problem. And first of all, it's hard because I teach my core kids reading and math and science and social studies, but then I also switched amongst our second graders and we teach our intervention. So I do have a mix of other kids too, besides just my ones that I teach the core classes to. So when I was thinking of what is the biggest problem, I was like, do I take it based on my own core kids and what was the problem we had with just that group of kids, or do I base it on the daily interactions with those kiddos that I saw every day, all of the kids, not just my one group of kids. And so I just based it off of the daily group of kids of that. This is who I taught every day, and it was different children. And so thinking of it in that way of what was the biggest problem, it was very clear 100% the biggest problem is behaviors. I have been at the school for the last 5 years, and I have never seen it be as bad as it was this last year. It got to the point where we had students from K through 5th grade that are just, they would walk out of classrooms. We had kids screaming and yelling, fighting, kicking, biting, hitting teachers, breaking windows. I mean, I'm not talking about just like a small little behavior problem. I'm talking about it has blown into a full-blown, the entire school no longer has a behavior system. We started with one last year when they rolled out a BIS system throughout our district that everyone is going to go through this behavior plan and you're going to follow the steps, and that's just going to help, in general, the school have a better behavior plan. Well, it started to work, but then my school has gotten to the point where the system no longer works. The kids don't listen to the teachers. They don't respond to any type of consequences. It's just gotten wild. It's insane to me to see kids walk out of the room. They will break things. They're screaming. They'll cuss at you, and I don't even know these kids, in 4th and 5th grade. They'll be like cussing at me when I'm passing them in the hallway. And that's mind-blowing because I wasn't raised in a school like this. And if you try to go through the steps of the BIS process anymore, it doesn't work. They're not affected by, now you should go to the safe seat, then you should go to the buddy room. Like, all those steps that we had in plan that were supposed to be successful are not successful at all. So students are now taking their behaviors and making it so extreme that there is absolutely no learning going on, because once they come back to the room, they're still in that zone of not listening, and they know if they are still continuing to misbehave, there are no consequences. So they can continue what they're doing, and most of the majority of the day, they're out of the classroom. They're not even in there learning, and it's not just one or two kids. It's a lot of students that are not inside the classroom learning. So that's incredibly sad to see that that's how bad my building has gotten. We have it's a decent-sized school, and out of the school we had a lot leave at the end of the year. Many, many, many teachers left and are not coming back because the behavior plan is so incredibly horrible. So, next thing, going into if I could have my own team to help this problem, what would be the type of team I would have? And looking at the choices here, I think I would definitely need a heavyweight team. I would need a group of teachers that would be able to come in and they could change the way the school is running this behavior system. I would need members that could, quoting from the book here, it says, a school can form a heavyweight team by choosing experts from different parts of the school community. Teachers, administrators, but also counselors, other staff members, and parents. So being able to form my own team of members from outside of the school would really help us be successful. Me being able to pick, what I would want is that there would be people from each grade level, and only the dedicated teachers that are willing to make this change. They have to know that this is such a problem and how are we going to fix it. So each grade level would still come together and talk about the behaviors and what would be a very good system to have in place for the whole school. And then these groups would come together and we would hopefully have somebody from outside the district that could come in too, and they see what's going on and they help us form a completely brand new behavior plan system for the entire school. So, like I said, I'm not talking about just how teachers are running the behaviors in their own room. I'm talking about as a whole, we need a heavyweight team that would come in and completely restructure what we're doing right now. It makes me sad to see that this is happening, but it's like we really do need a group of people, a team of people that can come in and really restructure this and get our students back on track with learning. It says, at the level of the heavyweight team, the need for a person with significant decision-making authority often means that people in former leadership roles need to be more involved. So just having people that really understand that this is important and this is a huge issue. And if we want our students to be successful with their learning, then we need to fix this problem. We need to get the behaviors in check and figure out what is the best solution here to get their learning where it needs to be. When we don't have any consequences at our school and kids are just doing horrible things, then we can't expect their reading scores to improve or their math and scores to improve. So it's not a shock when you look at their scores and you see their results and the kids are not improving. It's like, well, no wonder, because their behavior is so insane. And it's just, it's heartbreaking. Like, I've never been in a situation where I really thought this school is falling apart. Like, this is not getting better, it's getting worse, and the students are ultimately paying the price for it because the system we had in mind that was supposed to be so great and really get these behaviors on track has just gone down the drain, and either teachers aren't following the system correctly or our administrator is not enforcing it the way it should be. It's all a mixture, I think, but in general, if I had the choice, I would love to be able to have my own. I could help decide who gets to come in. I could pick that great team of definitely people from outside the district that could come in, look at the behavior going on, and we could create a brand new design that would help turn our school around. So, yep, I think that is by far the biggest problem going on right now. When it comes to blended learning, I was thinking about how if there are more teachers in my building that started to do blended learning, and I mean almost everybody, start to incorporate it, it could help with the behaviors, because students, are not liking the learning when they're just doing face-to-face talks with their teachers, or they get bored, or they get more angry, and then behaviors start to happen. But if students were able to do the blended learning and got to own their learning, and they would be more engaged with doing things online, then it could really help with the behaviors, and then that would ultimately, hopefully improve their scores, and the learning would start to continue again. So with the different types of blended learning, I love the idea of the flipped classroom, but in my own school situation, I don't think that would be beneficial. I think that students would not go home and listen to instruction online and then come back, so we wouldn't have to do that at school or whatever. I don't see that part ever happening. Let alone right now, we barely have students that will do their homework, and we don't have very good parent involvement. So if we were trying to enforce that, I don't think that one would work very well. I think the idea of the station rotations is really great. I know a lot of teachers are already using that, implementing it in their classrooms on a daily basis of rotating between whether it's math or reading and letting the kids get online. I think that does help them be more engaged and they're more excited to do the learning. So that could be a good one to help with this whole big problem of the behaviors. But it's also finding that balance of the online learning too, because I know a lot of teachers in my building are letting kids get on the internet, but just to do whatever they want. That's also horrible teaching. They're not instilling the fact that if you're going to use these laptops, you're actually going to still do the online learning and you're going to do the activities the way you're supposed to. Instead, we're having the behaviors are so off the chart that it's the only way to calm some of these kids down or to get them to do their work is like, hey, here's a computer, so now you can just play whatever you want. It's like, that's not helpful. That's not instilling the fact that you should be following the rules and behaving, and instead we're going to give you technology just so that way you stop. But at the same time, our principal is not enforcing any of the consequences. So it's like, man, we need a fresh start on how to even get these in check of how students can even use technology now. It's sad to me when I go down the hallway or I see other teachers that are allowing their students to just use the technology in the worst way. It's like, just because you're letting them play on the iPad so that way they're not throwing a huge fit, that's not teaching these students that behavior is not acceptable. And then them just playing whatever online is not enforcing any learning. So that kid did nothing all day. So what? He didn't throw a fit. That's great. He didn't have a hard time, but then you also are instilling him that the use of laptops is not used for learning, really, that you can just play whatever game you want, and I guess that's just how it works. So that part makes me a little bit sad, and I think that We need a whole new way of telling kids how they get to use the computers, how they use this technology, what they're going to be doing with this online learning. Because at this point, like I said, we have no behavior plans. I mean, I've seen kids get sent to my principal's office, and not even kidding, the consequence for the principal, there'll be a kid that threw a chair and it hit another student pretty hard or whatever. So there should be a consequence for that. And what will instead happen is that kid will go up to the office, and our principal or our assistant principal will literally give him an iPad, and he gets to play games up there. And then comes back and tells the rest of the kids, like, that's what he did. So I really want you to understand, when I say behaviors is an issue, it is a huge, huge issue. And it's the way the structure is run and what is going on in the school. And so we need a heavyweight team that's going to come in, and it's going to change the game here and make a whole new plan of that. This is not acceptable, and the learning is not happening when we do not have a plan in place. So I really, really wish this could happen. I wish I could form my own heavyweight team and have them come in and help and decide what's best to have a whole new system, because unfortunately it really is affecting the learning of the students. There's just no way that learning can get done when they're out in the hallway, when they aren't even in the room, and there's just no way. So again, there shouldn't be a surprise when the scores drop or when they don't have any scores, because they haven't been inside the classroom. Yeah. So this has been, it's hard to talk about behavior because it is always such a hot button issue, but this, especially my school, has just gone so far downhill that we need help. We need a team that can come in and turn it around. So in a magical world, I could make my own heavyweight team, and we could get the ball rolling this summer and hopefully start something next year. But unfortunately, I don't have the say in doing that, but I really wish that I could. So that's my rallying cry. We have a huge, huge behavior problem. Okay, thank you.